My name is Laura Knoff. I'm a nutrition consultant mentor for Bauman College for 25 years now. And I'm glad to see everybody here. It's an exciting program, and I think you'll have fun today.
And I'll introduce myself next.
Sorry.
No problem. Hi everyone. I'm Melissa Shaffer. I'm one of the holistic chef instructors for the culinary program and also a graduate of Bowman College back in 2019, the chef program. And yeah, really excited to share this recipe with you today and welcome you all to consider joining one of our programs. Laura and I are kind of going to be passing back and forth, chatting about nutrition. I'm going to be showing our recipes today. We're making an immunity boosting carrot soup recipe with lots of nutrients from our vegetables, carrots and onion. We've got garlic and ginger, some sea vegetables, and some miso. So lots of things to talk about. I'll be showing off some knife skills and making the soup. And then we're also making a little mushroom cracker to go with it, which has its own whole host of nutrition and, of course, a delightful textural contrast as well. So this is, similar to what we would do in the chef program with our kind of weekly cook-alongs with students. Normally the students would be cooking with us. Today you'll just be watching, but a little taste of what that's like for you. So I'm going to switch my camera here so you can see what I'm going to be doing. Awesome. Great. Okay, so I'm going to get started cutting up a couple things that we're going to need to get the recipe going, starting with our onion. During our course, we have whole classes dedicated to knife skills where we would, go step by step through things like dicing an onion, and then students would be able to try it on video, get feedback, and all of that. For today, I'm going to dice our onions, start slicing our carrots, and Laura can share a little bit about the nutrition while I do that.
All right. Yeah, onions are one of the most commonly used vegetables throughout the world. And they've been used for more than 6,000 years. They have a lot of the same qualities as garlic, but much milder. And they are very important for the lungs system. So for our immunity, this time of year particularly, our lungs need some support often. The quality of air is maybe not so good, the coldness of the air. So the warming aspects of onions and the aromatic aspects of onions are important to support the lungs. They do have some B vitamins and antioxidants. They also have sulfur compounds that are helpful for our glutathione production and antioxidant production. And they just taste good. They, depending on how they're cooked, they can be sweet or they can be a little more pungent. And they can even be a little almost even bitter if they're overcooked or seared too much, too dark. But the way Melissa's going to be cooking them, they're going to be a little bit sweet, and that'll add texture and flavor and, of course, nutrition to the soup. She's also going to be using some scallions, which are the young green onions, a variety of young green onion. You could use green onions for this, but the scallions are particularly good because they don't get the bulb portion forming at the bottom. And the green texture, the green crunchy texture can be used as a garnish quite easily. So that's very important for immunity, for lungs. Also, she's going to be doing some carrots in a little while, and they have their own high volume qualities for immunity. So I bet it takes a really sharp knife to do some of the slicing she's doing. It's important to have a sharp knife when you're cutting up round things so your knife doesn't slide off the
Yes,
object.
yes. So part of the way I cut it in half first is to, find a nice stable base to be cutting from because onions are round, which can be dangerous. So you always want to find kind of how can I stabilize this vegetable, and
Yeah.
then doing a series of cuts in different directions to get the kind of size you want. I'm also going to turn my pan on to start heating up so we can get our onions sauteing while I slice the carrot. I've already done a majority of it, but going to do a nice thin slice so that our soup will cook a little bit faster for our demo here. I left the skin on. This whole thing's going to be blended. We want all that nutrition. There's really, I've cleaned them well, so there's no reason to need to remove the skin here. And thought I would do a bias cut today. That's another kind of technique that we like to show here and have
That
our
prevents
students
the
learn.
carrots from rolling off your cutting board too, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, I'm stabilizing it. That we call this
But even
hand
the
the
round parts,
claw or the
I
guide
know,
hand, and it
yeah.
holds everything in place.
But even when they're round, sometimes they want to roll away. So
Yes.
yeah. So carrots have beta carotene is the most commonly known carotene in carrots, and beta carotene is a precursor to the actual vitamin A retinol. And it takes a few steps for the body to convert beta carotene. It takes two beta carotene molecules to be attached to each other to become retinol. And retinol, vitamin A, is very important for the immune system. It supports your mucous membranes, keeps them healthy and strong. It's also good for growth and repair. Carrots are another commonly used vegetable. Interestingly enough, they weren't always orange. Carrots come in a whole variety of colors, and I think originally they were whitish. They are related to some of the other root vegetables like parsnips, and even to some that we don't use as root vegetables so much. So they're a nutritious and commonly found vegetable. They are sweet, so that's helpful. It's also good for the stomach systems. And carrots are they're because they're sweet. Um, they help our lungs, our kidney, our digestive system, our liver, as well as the stomach. They were native to Afghanistan also. The vitamin A that we get from carrots that we can convert from the beta carotene supports our eyes as well, and those mucous membranes can get infected and inflamed too. So we need to make sure that our eyes stay healthy as well. And our immune system is responsible, of course, for keeping our entire body healthy and strong. So it's important to have many support systems for your immune system, many foods.
Great. And I just want to note real quick that I started sauteing our onions in some extra virgin olive oil, a good amount, because we want some nice fat in this dish to help absorb all those fat soluble vitamins in there. So getting that going, this is going to be kind of the, flavor base for the soup. Get that to soften, start to get a little color on it. And then while that's cooking, I'm going to mince my garlic up, also grate my ginger to have ready for a little bit later. I'm going to be doing a smash technique just to remove the skin here with the sharp side away from me, and just smashing as an easier way to remove the skins. And so Laura, if you want to share
Yeah.
anything about garlic and ginger while I'm doing
Yes,
that.
so garlic is in the same family as the onions, and it's a much more pungent than onions are. But the smashing technique, the breaking of those cell walls, actually releases enzymes that help to activate something called allicin in the garlic. That is the antimicrobial, antibacterial, antifungal quality in garlic. So these foods are actually quite medicinal. So if you have a cold coming on, having garlic certainly can help clear your airways. It helps to kill the bacteria that are around, and even viruses that are around. So that's the one thing about garlic is it's a little pungent, but it sure warms up the system and keeps the immune system strong and healthy. The sulfur compounds in garlic also can support the liver detoxification, which is also quite important when you're talking about fighting off any kind of pathogens, because your immune system in that process will create some toxins that the body has to eliminate. And so part of why we feel so terrible when we get sick is our body has to eliminate the toxins as well as fight off the pathogens. So immune system support, garlic, a hot soup like this with both the carrots, garlic, and onions is going to really do the job. Not to mention ginger, which I think she'll be putting it together a little bit. Ginger is also quite pungent. It's a rhizome part. It's like a above ground root. It's been used medicinally for many, many years. It's commonly used for motion sickness because it helps to support the stomach. But it's also very, very good, just like turmeric is, for quenching inflammation. Inflammation is the body's natural response to a challenge to help get rid of that challenge. But inflammation can get out of control and become chronic, and that becomes not just difficult, but painful. And it's an indication that your body doesn't have everything it needs to resolve the challenge. So there's our ginger.
Yeah, and I'm just grating it on a microplane here. Gonna do about an inch, and it's gonna get it nice and small so it can incorporate.
And is there any reason to peel the ginger, or it doesn't matter?
You know, a lot of recipes will say to. It's kind of personal preference, especially because this is all getting blended up anyways. Um, I, I never really mind. I sometimes if there's like a particularly big piece that I missed, I'll, take that out. But again, personally, if I'm washing it, I often don't bother.
As long as there's no rocks and sand, you're okay.
Sure. Yeah.
It looks good. And the smell of that must be something.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's lovely. And I might actually do even a little bit more
Yeah.
than the recipe said because I
Well,
like it.
the activation, it's a warming herb, so that activates our blood circulation, which of course will bring our white blood cells to the area of interest, particularly the lungs, if that's what's going on. But even joint inflammation and other digestive problems or digestive pathogens can be supported. Your digestive system can be supported by the ginger and the garlic.
Yeah. So we can see nice color,
Mhm.
development on this. That's going to add some flavor. It's going to continue to develop and they've become kind of translucent. They've softened. So I'm going to go in um, with the next step here, which is adding in those carrots that I've cut. And then also adding in that garlic. So these will start to soften, start to get a little bit of color. They'll cook more in the liquid, but we can kickstart that softening process. And like I said, because it's contacting the oil in the hot pan, maybe get a little caramelization on those carrots.
Yeah, the olive oil that in this recipe, I mean, you could use ghee, you could use other good oils, but the olive oil is particularly good because it has its own polyphenols, which are again immune boosting, and also the oils allow the absorption of the beta carotenes, which are oil soluble. So that's going to improve our bioavailability of those compounds that our body needs to make the vitamin A. There's also potassium and magnesium, calcium, other minerals in carrots, in onions. I mentioned sulfur in the garlic and the onions. So there's lots of good minerals. Our bodies often need the minerals that are missing in refined and processed foods. That's a lot of what's taken out. So getting whole foods that contain the necessary and accompanying minerals is really helpful to support our whole body, including our immunity.
And it's starting to smell really good. There's like this kind of sweetness in the air from the onion, from the carrot, those natural, forms of sweetness and those natural sugars.
Mhm.
And I'm just scraping a little bit on the bottom just to make sure there's no little, stuck bits of garlic or anything like that. So I'll give it another minute here before adding in our liquid, which I wanted to show you is this kombu, which is a sea vegetable that's been soaking in water overnight. And so I've made basically a kombu dashi. When you hear the term kombu dashi, that means that there's no animal products in it, that it is a vegan dashi. dashi being the base for a lot of soups and sauces in Japanese cuisine. That's going to contrast with the more traditional dashi that has bonito, the fish flakes in it. So I'll be taking out this kombu. And Laura, if there's anything you want to share
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, so the water soluble aspects of the kombu are a lot of those minerals I was talking about. So kombu is a type of a seaweed. It looks like a green lasagna noodle, and it is especially uh, concentrated in minerals, including the trace minerals, including zinc and selenium. There's iron. There's certainly sodium and potassium, but there's actually the proper balance of potassium to sodium. Our bodies require about 5 parts potassium to 1 part sodium, and kombu and many of the other seaweeds have that exact same ratio. So it's a balancing and beneficial. Kombu is especially also has iodine, which supports the thyroid. When you have good thyroid function, your body's metabolism is going at the right speed, and that means that you're able to fight off infections and fight off inflammation more easily. It also contains vitamins A in the form of carotenes, vitamin C and E. Vitamin C and the B complex it also contains are water soluble, so that's going to go into that dashi, into that broth. The other
Yeah.
interesting thing about kombu is that it has a little bit of glutamate in it, which actually stimulates the taste buds. So a lot of times people add a seaweed to give that accentuated umami flavor to turn on our taste buds. So we really take notice and really enjoy the food.
Lovely, thank you. And I wanted to just show what it looked like in its dried form. So it's this dark color, smaller, and then expands and turns that more green. I'll do the side by side here. You can see the
Oh yeah, they're looking
difference.
about the same, but yeah, when it was in that other bowl, it was clearly green.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's
It
because they're on
expand
top
a
of each
lot.
other. It's
There you
green.
go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yes, a lot of expansion. All right, so definitely got some nice color on here. Everything is kind of softened, reduced in size a little bit. So I'm going to go in with that ginger that I prepared. And that can burn pretty quickly because it's so kind of small there. So I'm going to go right in with that dashi.
Now, the nice thing about a soup for immunity is hydration really helps our immune system function. Part of the effects of the immune system is to open up the tissues and allow the white blood cells to get in on a liquid background, basically. So if you're dehydrated, it's much, much harder for your immune system to function the way it should. So we really want to make sure we stay hydrated throughout the winter. It's sometimes easier in the summer because you get hot, so you drink more. But in the winter, it's important to have hydration as well. And soups and stews are a wonderful way to do that. So especially if there's these electrolyte minerals included in them.
Lovely. Thank you. So yeah, at this point, I'm gonna cover this to help it come to a boil a little bit faster. Once it's at a boil, I'll be reducing it to a simmer, and hopefully, because I cut the carrots so thinly, that will cook pretty quickly here. But in the meantime, we're going to work on our mushroom
Mm.
chips here. So there's different mushrooms you can do this with. Today I'm using the king trumpet or the king oyster mushroom, has different names, and going to do thin, about 1/8 of an inch slices on this with my knife. You can also use a mandolin. And then I'll be putting them out on our sheet tray, brushing them with ghee and adding some salt and pepper. So yeah, I would love to hear a little bit about mushrooms while I am doing
Yeah.
that prep.
Yeah, mushrooms are fungi, and there's many, many different kinds. The king trumpet is also called royal trumpet. Mushrooms generally are considered to be immune boosting. They have been used for healing in various cultures for centuries. Some are considered more medicinal than others. King trumpet was once reserved for royalty. That's partly the name, and also the size of it. It's a nice large mushroom. Um, so they all contain vitamin D2, which is a form of vitamin D that is very supportive for the immune system. The most supportive um, type of vitamin D is D3 that you get from the sun, or you get from the fats of animals that have been exposed to the sun. But if mushrooms are exposed to ultraviolet light, they form something called ergocalciferol, which is actually vitamin D2. And that has been also shown to some respects to boost the immune system. Vitamin D, every single cell in our body contains vitamin D receptors. So vitamin D is important for many aspects of our health, but especially also for immunity, for supporting the digestive system, keeping it whole and intact, keeping the mucous membranes in good shape. Of course, supporting bone health, but also calcium metabolism. In some cases, calcium has been used, is necessary to keep a fever under control. So if you have a really high fever, sometimes having a little extra calcium in the diet can really help. That's where those soups that contain the minerals are very beneficial. Let's see what else.
I'm adding the ghee on now.
Oh, mushrooms also have been shown to improve the number of white blood cells in the body. So it's a sort of thing where, your immune system is working, and white blood cells are the major soldiers in your immune system, and the having more of them to fight infections is often necessary. Ghee, of course, is clarified butter. It does not contain the milk solids that regular butter contains. That's been taken out, but it's basically butter oil. It's also high in the actual vitamin A, the retinol, and it also supports a lot of these compounds. One of the compounds in mushrooms that are very beneficial is something called beta-glucan. Beta-glucan has actually been shown to help the immune system deal with cancer. So these are really powerful tools to keep your immune system healthy and strong. And making it into a tasty, unique kind of non-refined cracker is going to be a special treat, to another different way to have mushrooms. Mushrooms have used many different ways. You can saute them. You can saute them with eggs. You can put them in almost any soup or stew recipe. But this is going to be intensifying the mushroom flavor and making us stand up and take notice, making our immune system stand up and take notice.
Yes, we'll see in a moment how much these condense once they are cooked through some movie magic here, so that mushroom flavor becomes really, really concentrated.
Yeah, mushrooms have a lot of water in them actually, and protein and vitamin B vitamins too. So looks good.
Yep. Yeah, so this is our sheet pan. And so this would go into the oven, and then if you have multiple pans, because this was just one mushroom that fits, most on this pan, so you would probably do multiple pans at once and then just rotate them and kind of check them every 15 minutes until we're gonna see
What's your temperature on the?
350.
Okay.
Until this is our
Oh.
this is our end result here.
Now I've seen
So
I've seen mushroom jerky for sale, and this looks awfully similar.
yeah, this one's completely crispy though, so it's like a cracker, so it's not, chewy
Not
like
chewy.
a
Uh-huh.
jerky. I'm able to snap this really easily. Um, and so it's changed color. It's has this nice golden brown, and I really waited until it was fully crisp before removing it from the oven. Otherwise, it will have some give to it and not be fully cracker-like. But we can, see the size
Ah,
difference in these
well,
pieces here. Pretty remarkable.
yeah,
Um, so the flavor is very dense with the umami there.
yeah. And that cooked for how long total?
So because some pieces were smaller than others, I started taking some of them out maybe at 45 minutes, but some of
Mhm.
them did take kind of that full hour.
And cutting them long ways, is that more beneficial than cutting across into rounds?
Well, I think it's just the size thing. If you want, a cracker that has some size to it, if you cut it the other direction, your end
Tiny,
pieces would just be so little, right?
dime sized, huh?
Yeah, if you wanted it as more like a crunchy garnish on something, then maybe that direction would
Yeah, these were the royal trumpet or king trumpet mushrooms, Lisa.
yes, the king trumpet. Yep. I'm just the soup's kind of just come to um a simmer here, so we're gonna let that go for a couple minutes.
So this is a pretty easy recipe to do. I
Yeah,
mean,
not a lot of ingredients, but the flavor is going to be really great because we've, started with the sautéing as the flavor base here, and then we'll see in a bit how the miso is really going to be that
mm,
next punch of flavor
mhm.
that gets added in there.
So do you want me to
Um,
talk about miso or
um,
not yet?
sure. I can work on our little garnish here while
Oh,
you
okay.
while you talk about that.
Was that the scallions then, right?
Yes.
Green tops of the scallions.
Yep.
It's one of, actually scallions are one of my favorite parts of some of the dishes because you can add as much as you like and they're just so fresh and crisp and bright in a dish. And with this orange colored soup, it's going to be a nice color contrast too.
Yeah, and I'm just doing kind of a thin slice on it, kind of a different direction than I often I often do here. Um, the mine are a little different because these are from my garden, so they actually have this kind of like mucilaginous like goo inside them a little bit.
Mhm. Yeah, we've had some rain
Um,
recently too, so that
yeah, they were well hydrated, but I think this should kind of look pretty
yeah,
on the
yeah,
soup.
be very tasty because they're fresh.
Yeah, and it's just convenient. And those are ones I grew from supermarket ones. I just put the root ends in some water and let the roots grow, and then
Oh
planted it
wow, I'll have to do
out
that.
in the out in the garden there.
Yeah. So
Um, yeah.
miso is a soybean paste. So Lisa's asking the dashi was water and the kombu um, just soaked overnight. Kombu soaked overnight in water is a vegetarian dashi. So she
Yes.
lost connection for a little bit. So miso, you saw the is that a brown miso there?
This is the red miso.
Red miso, okay. So red miso is what, usually two years old of fermentation? You
Yeah,
know?
this one I think this says aged 1 year, this one that I
Oh, okay,
have.
all right. So miso is fermented soybean paste. It's a koji um, culture that's added to the mushrooms and salt, and that allows it to ferment over the course of a year, 2 or 3, to break down a lot of the indigestible proteins in the soy, but also to make more B vitamins and make it all very bioavailable. There's also minerals that are more available too in miso. So it's a fermented soybean paste. The nutrients in it, because they're more bioavailable, are very immune boosting. The sodium, the salt, is electrolyte, so that's going to help you absorb more of the liquid in the soup. It adds a wonderful taste. It adds that, again, that umami taste that stimulates our taste buds and tells us this is good for us. When you do the miso, it's important to remember that if it's alive, has probiotic bacteria in it, that heating that is going to kill those probiotic bacteria. However, even the cell membranes of those bacteria do send signals to our immune system. So even if it's not actively probiotic, it's still going to be beneficial for the immune system. Um, Miso has been considered to be helpful for digestion. It helps to prevent cancer. It reduces the effects of radiation and other toxins, including even smoking. And it has a complete protein. So soy is a complete protein, and in the fermented form, it's bioavailable and accessible. Unfermented soy is really not very digestible, and you don't get much out of it. And in fact, there are some anti-nutrients in soy, if it's unfermented, that can prevent you from even getting enough of the protein out of it. So we do recommend fermented forms of soy, which would be miso, the different types of miso. It would be tempeh. If you can get fermented tofu, that is better than the precipitated tofu that most people have available. And also even tamari and soy sauce are fermented forms if they're done in the traditional way. So
Yep.
we got a blender out.
Yep. I was trying to let this cool a little bit, but for the sake of time, I have to just go for it. It is good to let your soup cool a little bit before blending it, just for safety reasons. It's very hot for sputtering. I'm using an immersion blender today, but would be especially true if you're using a stand blender, where you want to kind of pop the top a little bit so that hot air can escape, so you don't have any pressure building up from your hot liquid. So I've let this cool briefly for a moment here, but we're going to go for it with our blending. The noise shouldn't be too loud for you, but
It's okay.
just bear with me here. I'm going for kind of um, a nice smooth consistency here, a nice creamy carrot soup, and then we'll finish off with the miso as our final step here.
Yeah, it's reasonably quiet. Your noise canceling is working. Yeah, breaking down the cell walls of those carrots and onions are going to release more of those carotenes and compounds in the in those vegetables. It's going to help disperse the garlic and the ginger flavors too, and that's going to be a beautiful soup. There it goes. If you don't have an immersion blender, you could have this soup in its entirety, but the smoothness and creaminess of the soup is going to meld the flavors. And if you're sick, it's certainly going to feel better on your digestive system to have the blended soup, to have something soothing that you can calmly smoothly consume. It's going to soothe the throat, soothe the digestive system as well. And the
Yep,
color.
and it is taking a moment to get fully blended. I'm also wanting to pause. You kind of want to let the motor rest briefly a little bit, not just go for minutes on end. Definitely making progress. Some carrot bits there, so I'm just going to go a little bit longer.
Okay. Yeah, the downside of these Zoom presentations is we don't get to smell and taste the final result. But I think if this is a simple enough recipe, most people can make it on their own and enjoy it and get a good idea of what it's supposed to look like and what it's supposed to taste like. That's looking wonderful.
All right, I think we have some good progress here. Let's just take a look. Yeah, so pretty nice, smooth consistency here. I could, potentially take it a little bit longer if I wanted to, really get it nice and smooth. Some people prefer a little bit of texture, so it really is personal preference. So for the sake of time, I think I'll stop here, but just know that you can keep blending it. You can even put it through like a fine mesh strainer. You're going to lose some of the fiber, which is going to have a lot of benefit for you as well. But if you were looking for a perfectly smooth soup, or using like a Vitamix or something like that to get that really hyper smooth
Yeah.
outcome. But for us, this is looking really good. So the heat is off at this point. I'm able to transfer a ladle full into the bowl with the miso here. Because if I just put this miso right in, because it's so thick, it would be really hard to whisk it in and get it to incorporate without being really clumpy. But this way, I'm able to get it to a thinner consistency that will integrate. And if I want, I can even thin it out just a little bit more.
And I forgot to mention that miso is salty, so it's going to add the necessary salty taste that brings out a lot of the flavor. When people say salt to taste, they don't mean add salt until you can taste the salt. They mean add enough salt to enhance the flavors of the food, not to overwhelm them.
Yes, exactly. And you'll notice I haven't added any salt to the soup otherwise. The kombu, the dashi added some saltiness, and then this miso here. So I might actually use my whisk a little bit to help
And
this
the
process.
potassium in those vegetables is going to also balance the salt as well, the sweetness.
Yeah. So at this point, I'm going to just give it a little taste. We always want to be tasting our food before serving it, not just following the recipe, but tasting it for ourselves and balancing the flavor as needed. So that is my final step here, is to taste the soup. And I'm tasting the sweetness. I'm tasting some of the heat from that ginger. And I would like a little bit more salt because I think some of those that carrot flavor can pop a little bit more. I'm just going to stir that in. Put another little bit on my spoon to try here.
And I
Yep,
notice
so
you're not
even just
double
that,
dipping.
sorry?
I notice you're not double dipping. That's good.
No, no. But yeah, even just that little bit of extra salt, it actually brought out a lot of sweetness from the carrots.
Mhm.
So I'm really happy with that decision here. So ready to plate it up. Of course, try not to drip like I just did, or you'll have to clean that up before you serve. But nice big bowl, lots of carrots in there, and that will go with our mushroom crisps with just a little bit of toasted sesame oil as a little bit of a
Flavor.
garnish here and adding some more flavor, and it can be kind of pretty too, the
Mhm.
little droplets there. And then finished off with our little kind of scallion pieces here. Try to make that look pretty.
This is so much healthier and more elegant than the tomato soup my mom used to serve when I had a cold. Lovely.
So there we go. And that's our soup today. We made it pretty quickly.
I enjoyed the program so much, the nutrition consulting program so much, I stayed and became a teacher. So it was life-changing for me. And I've heard that from many of my students that this program is life-changing and for the better. So if you have any interest whatsoever, if you have the time, it's well worth it.
Hmm. Yeah. And likewise, I attended the program and now I'm a teacher, instructor. So that I think that says a lot. And yeah, we're just always so excited to have new students, really like building this community of like-minded people. So people you can, talk nerdy with about food as much as you want and like they get it. They're not like, "Oh, why are you talking about food so much?" It's like, no, like you found your tribe, your community. So always excited to meet new folks who are about that and just that we have all different types of students from all over with all different goals and teaching, learning so much from each other and your own backgrounds and we have people yeah in catering in teaching in starting their own businesses working for others like all sorts of things and just with a lot of passion to make a positive impact in the world through healthy food, and that always really inspires me. So, um, if you're thinking about it, I recommend taking the leap. I don't think you'll regret it, and I'll be really excited to meet everyone.